All right, welcome in. It is Friday. Time for Total Bases, your Major League Baseball free pick show right here on WagerTalk TV. It's a two-man show today. Myself and Tokyo Brandon. Bryan Leonard not feeling well. He'll be back on Monday, so we hope he feels better. But you've got me and Tokyo Brandon. Tokyo Brandon and I believe is the appropriate way to say that for the next hour. And there's 15 games, so we're going to get right into it. I think the feature game today, we're going to come back to the East Coast. I feel like it's been the Dodgers the last 4 days. I want to start out here with a big matchup in the NL East. It is national TV if you count Apple TV as national TV. The only way you're watching this one in the States is to fire up that Apple TV app. But it's Mets Phillies, and TB, just before we got on air, been a pretty significant line move here. One I think I agree with. Mets taking some money, but they've lost 6 straight, and they're up against Zach Wheeler on the road. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, I don't know much about Tidwell. Maybe you can shed some light on that for us. Because, like I've said in previous shows, the unknown is our worst enemy when we're trying to predict the future. And to me, that's kind of an unknown X factor there. I do know Wheeler pretty well. And he's 7-2 with a 2.76 ERA. I have him ranked in the top 5 of all MLB pitchers. Let me tell you the exact. I just put it on my Twitter, my brand new rankings. Let's see. I got him number 8 out of 250 pitchers, so he's pretty good. He's not bad. And the Mets are good, but right now, not so much. Let's see where we got him. Yeah, I got them ranked 15 out of 30 in hitting, and I got their bullpen ranked 26. Now, that includes current form. That doesn't mean they're the 26th worst team. It's just current form. But yeah, they're floundering a little bit. And Wheeler's stats against the Mets in his career against these particular batters, not stellar, but not bad. 255 average against and a 706 OPS. I've always said my Mendoza line for OPS is around 750. Anything under that is okay. He's barely under that, so not bad. But just to give out you guys my projections here, I project Wheeler to get 17.9 outs, so I would not do the over 18.5. I wouldn't do the under 18.5 outs either. And strikeouts, I'm projecting him at 6.76. So those are my numbers. I'm probably not going to play it, though.
Yeah, so to address a couple questions in the chat, I'll also talk about Blade Tidwell a little bit. Steve Duke says Mets team total under. The chat is scrolling, which is great. I love when the chat scrolls, except I lost my spot. Mets team total under. I don't know if I would look that way. I kind of think this game goes over. As Tokyo Brandon said, the Mets do hit Wheeler. I don't know that you're getting the full value of Zach Wheeler against the Mets because there's a lot of familiarity there and they have decent numbers against them. Stacy says, don't the Mets have trouble with pitching injuries? Yes, that's why you're seeing Blade Tidwell called up here. But right before we got on there, so full disclosure, I like the Mets today. I actually might make this my parlay leg. I was very close to clicking in Mets plus 1.5, right around minus 115. This got absolutely slammed like 10 minutes ago. The money line was plus 200 down to plus 155. Mets plus 1.5 was minus 115 up to minus 135. So someone out there agrees with me. I don't know that I want to jump on it after that move. So I may pivot to kind of looking at the total here for a couple of reasons. One, what we've talked about with Wheeler, there's a lot of familiarity between Mets hitters and Wheeler, and the Mets have decent numbers against him. Two, Tidwell is had it not been for some injuries, I don't know that he's called up right here. I've watched a lot of him at AAA. He plays for my local team, the Syracuse Mets. I don't think he's thrown the ball particularly well at AAA recently. I would say the last couple starts have been better, but I don't think he's been as good this year in the minors as he was last year. I think had he this isn't a spot where I think he's being called up by merit, Tokyo Brandon. I think they need him right now. And I think that that's kind of why he's up here, because he hasn't demonstrated like real consistency at the AAA level this year, which where he's at in his career last year, coming up from AA to AAA. Okay, now this is your first kind of full season at AAA. Typically, you look for consistency from that type of guy before he's now in the big leagues. He's in the big leagues, in my opinion, out of necessity a little bit. So I think the stronger play here might be the over, because you know what? It's still the Phillies at home. That's still a scary proposition. Their last 2 seasons or so, I believe they're right up near the top of the league in win-loss record at home, and they hit right-handed pitching. So as much as I do think there's value with the Mets, and, you know, they've lost 6 straight, so they're going to want this one. You're going to get their best bullpen arms. I think maybe the way to go here might be the over, and we've got a full show to lock in the parlay, so I'm not going to jump at this one. However, Mets plus 1.5 and over, I do have pretty strong opinions on here. All right, let's go into the chat. Appreciate you guys today. Already jumping in. Please like and subscribe. I'm not sure. Oh, that looks like a happy face from Markins, and we'll take that. Happy face. I mean, I guess for me, happy face for me yesterday, TB. I went 2-0. I didn't bet a single Major League Baseball game, but I hit a minor league baseball game and a KBO play, so I was pretty happy about that. Couldn't find a good spot to jump in the big leagues, so hopefully we can find one today. Titan CT wants to talk Red Sox Giants. Yeah, we have to talk about this game. Of course, the blockbuster trade on Sunday afternoon, sending Rafael Devers to the Giants for 4 different players. I guess the Red Sox got a package. I don't know if I would call that a haul by any means, TB, but they got a few guys. At any rate, they're now playing each other, so really makes for a nice storyline here. Red Sox Giants, I believe this is the last one on the board tonight, so I'll go to you. How are you seeing Red Sox Giants first game of the series?
Yeah. I had a decent day yesterday. I won a couple, lost a couple. Overall, I think I made a 1.5% of profit yesterday, something like that. I have a 5% today, so we get 4 of them in a month, and this is my last one, my last 5% play today. So the Giants have been very disappointing the last few games. Disappointed me on a couple of my bets. I have them hitting pretty mediocre, but I have Boston hitting below mediocre, which is kind of odd. Boston is very streaky. They're one of the streakier teams in MLB, man. Their rankings, man, they could be up, they could be down. Both bullpens. Boston's bullpen's performing a little bit better, and I have both starting pitchers pretty dead even against each other. So just one point rank separates these two teams overall. I will say Dobbins walks a lot less than Birdsong, but these are 2 pitchers that I just don't have a grasp on them enough to kind of make a professional judgment on who I think is going to perform better. I don't have a grasp yet. Dobbins, numbers wise, seems to be the better pitcher, but sample size is small, and I don't follow the minor leagues as much as you do, so maybe you have a better sample size there. So, I'll hand this one to you. I'm not going to play it.
I'm going to double down on sort of what I've talked about all week. I'm very much in on the Giants after the trade. I will acknowledge they have not hit at all this week. I do agree with something Bryan Leonard brought up yesterday, where it kind of does feel like they're like enamored with Devers. I don't have they never seen a guy that can hit before? You know what I mean, Tokyo Brandon? I was joking. I was joking the other day. Do they think they traded for Hank Aaron? It's like they're watching this guy like he's a megastar. He's good. I mean, he's probably their best hitter now, but I almost feel like that the rest of the team's looking at him like, all right, generate all our offense, carry us, right? And it's like,
yeah,
just
considering their best hitter up to that trade was Yastrzemski, probably, then I'd be excited too.
Right. I mean, it's like, listen, he's going to help for sure, but it needs to be a more 1 to 9 in terms of like having good at bats, getting guys on the bases. Now, I do think you're going to slowly see the Giants offense improve. Why? Because suddenly Devers in there does make it a little bit trickier to navigate the Giants lineup, because you got to respect Helio Ramos. He's sort of a beast. And if he's got guys on base in front of him, he's going to be harder to pitch to. Same thing with Devers. You get some traffic on the bases in front of these guys, and it's going to be, they're going to probably have some offensive success. Where I will just continue to, sort of beat the drum on the Giants is they've got the pitching, right? Like, they were able to get Devers and give up almost nothing. Like, everything they gave up was expendable. Kyle Harrison, why would you need Kyle Harrison when you've got Hated Birdsong and then 3 other guys just like it at AAA? Gave up a reliever, gave up 2 prospects. So there's no doubt whatsoever the Giants improved their team drastically getting Devers. And this was a team that I already thought was a good team and was already a good team. They were already 6-7 games over 500. They enter play tonight 42-33. You make a great point about the Red Sox, Tokyo Brandon. It's a very feast or famine offense, it feels like. When they hit, they really hit. And when they don't hit, it's the last couple days in Seattle, where I think they got shut out 8-0. The day before, really, like, we're fortunate that they had such a good pitching effort from, I think, Giolito, because they only scored 2 runs. And then Garrett Crochet kind of got them home 3-1. But yeah, certainly haven't been hitting. And let's be honest, like, that long term, I don't know that it's going to be the worst thing for the Red Sox, but short term, taking Devers out of that lineup, I mean, he'll be missed, in my opinion, at least in the short term. So I have the Giants as I have the Giants priced right around where they are. That being said, like, I kind of lean their way in this one. It's a little bit tricky for the Red Sox being out on the West Coast. I know they had yesterday off, and I do like their bullpen, but something tells me the Giants are going to get going offensively. They grind out a 2-1 win yesterday. They needed that win. I feel like they may be able to build off that. So Giants are pass here for me. Okay, let's see what else we have. A lot of games today. Since it's only the 2 of us, we'll probably get to more.
Let me say one word real quick about home run. People are chattering about home run props. Look, I've said this in shows before, but Ohtani, probably the best home run hitter, maybe Judge, but he's going to hit a home run once around every 4 games, around every 17 at bats. If you don't get plus 400 or better on a home run prop, it's a sucker bet. Don't bet home run props. You might win today, but if you bet a home run prop every day, I guarantee you will lose money over a month, let alone a year. So don't bet home run props. Anyway, sorry.
2 good comments. Yeah, Devers potentially Sandoval 2.0. Certainly looks like that when he's on the bases. He's definitely clogging up the base paths. Like, definitely makes them a little bit more of a station-to-station team, which is tough when you're not, when you're not getting the timely hits and so on and so forth. But I agree with JM too. It's a huge get for them. I don't think that can be stated enough. They needed that left-handed bat. They got it. We're talking about a couple game sample since he showed up. I truly believe the Giants are going to get going. And I don't even think they've played even close to their best ball yet. And they're still 9 games over 500. So definitely going to be looking that way personally tonight. And we'll see if maybe the Red Sox take a little money and I can get a better price there as the day goes on. Okay, we have day baseball here in the States, Tokyo Brandon. I love when the Cubs are good for a couple of reasons. One, when the Cubs are a good team, TB, I just feel like baseball is better when the Yankees are good, when the Cubs are really good, when the Red Sox are really good, when the Dodgers are really good. Like, those, it's just better when and even the Giants to an extent. You want those big type teams being the teams to beat, in my opinion. And right now the Cubs are certainly that. It also gives us good games on Friday during the day, because the Cubs always get that Friday afternoon home game when they play at home. And so I'm excited for this one this afternoon. We've got Mariners Cubs at Wrigley Field. Very intriguing matchup, in my opinion, and people are asking for it in the chat. So I want to make sure we bring it up. Colin Gregory says thoughts on the day game. He loves Kirby. Maybe Mariners first 5 money line. It's going to be Matt Boyd against George Kirby. Tremendous pitching matchup. 2 really good teams. I got some thoughts here, but I want to hear yours first. Give us something Mariners Cubs.
Well, Kirby is very consistent. I mean, in his last 3 starts, he's given up 2 earned runs in each start, which is not bad considering he's gone 7 innings in one of those starts. Boyd is a good pitcher. I mean, his 117 whip, pretty good. He's consistent. So there's pitchers I hate, like Brandon Pfaadt, and these guys who are just so up and down, you have no idea what to get from them. But both of these pitchers are on the consistent side of pitching. So Boyd has only given up 4 runs in his last 3 starts. Pretty good. His start before that, he gave up 0. So I could say he's given up 4 runs in his last 4 starts. And he's gone over 6 innings in every single one of those starts. Taking a look at the numbers, my numbers like Seattle better, even though I have Matthew Boyd ranked far above Kirby. Thinking of ladies. Kirby. So, yeah, aside from starting pitcher, I have Seattle ranked higher than the Cubs in everything. So the Cubs started the season on fire. That lineup was just tearing things apart. Seiya Suzuki's hitting quite well, but the supporting cast's kind of cooled off a little bit. Chicago's not quite hitting the ball like they were at the beginning of the season. Seattle, not great, somewhat mediocre, but 2 really solid bullpens. If anything, I'd maybe take a Seattle under, maybe. But I mean, Seattle's lineup is hitting better, but still I have them ranked 15 out of 30. 15 out of 30 versus the number 7 bullpen and a pitcher who's only given up 4 earned runs in 4 games. Maybe the Seattle team total under would be a way to go here. I haven't played it yet, but just giving you a little insight on how I approach a cap. That's how I would maybe approach this one if I take a second look at it.
So first thing I went to look at for this game was where's the wind going at Wrigley today? And it doesn't look like it's good. Well, here's why, because so this Mariners team, I think the home ballpark they play in actually works against them. They're a team where their offense is really predicated, in my opinion, on the home run, hitting the long ball. I feel like they generate a lot of their offense via the home run. And they play their home games in one of the toughest parks to hit the ball out of in Major League Baseball at T-Mobile Park. So, and this is, yes, they have pitching this year, but I don't think this is quite Mariners teams from years past where it's like they're all pitching and they've got to like pray to score 2-3 runs to win games. There's some guys that can hit on this team this year. Cal Raleigh's emerged as one of the top hitters in Major League Baseball, but the lineup has... Yeah. Easily.
Number 1 in home runs.
Easily best hitting catcher out there. And
he's number 1 in home runs. He has more home runs than Ohtani and Judge. Amazing.
Yeah, and just imagine how many more he would have if he didn't play his home games at T-Mobile Park. It's a very difficult.
And if he wasn't a catcher.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, right. Because the wear and tear, of course. So the reason I bring that up is because I have looked to play the Mariners when they're on the road. The other thing I think you can look at now, these are nothing jumps off the page in terms of, they're 500 team on the road this year, I believe 17-17, 20-19 at home. But here the books love to price the Mariners as like an elite option at home. Mariners at home, they're minus 140, they're minus 150 almost every game. On the road, they're like usually like a pick, minus 110, a pick, even plus money in a lot of cases. And so I just think that because this team is more built for the road or playing in someone else's ballpark that is easier to hit out of, and the books don't give them the respect on the road because historically they haven't been as good of a road team, you get some really nice prices with the Mariners on the road. That's kind of why I went to the weather forecast and said, man, if the wind was blowing out, this would be a phenomenal spot for the Mariners, because I also agree with you, TB. My numbers suggest that Matt Boyd's got a little regression coming in his future. My numbers like the Mariners here. It's not that the wind is blowing in. It's just the wind isn't going to play much of a factor in this game. I still think I would find a way to play the Mariners here if I was forced to play this one. Like I said, my Matt Boyd, where he is to where I expect him to be, I do think there's some regression. He has a 1.17 whip. His ERA is under 3. My gut tells me, and just the underlying metrics tell me that those numbers get slightly worse. George Kirby, remember, he got his season started late. He didn't have much of a spring training. He had to go work that out in the minors, and he didn't have the cleanest rehab. He kind of, I don't want to say he had setbacks, but he had a hard time sort of figuring out his command, even into those first couple starts in the big leagues this year. 2 starts ago was the 7-inning, 2-run, 14 strikeout gem against the Angels. Last time out, he was good against the Guardians. My gut says Kirby is going to continue to improve, pitch better, sort of pitch to what we expect him to be, and then maybe some regression for Boyd. So I don't mind a Mariners money line at the price here. I do think there's some value there.
Adam, I'll back you up just a little bit here. If you look at how the Mariners have performed against Boyd, they've crushed him, actually. 76 at-bats. He's got a 342 average against and a 1048 OPS against in 76 at-bats. So if Boyd's going to get crushed, he hasn't gotten crushed in 4 starts straight, though. But if he's going to get crushed, it could be today.
Couple of other, yeah. So you know what? Remember, Boyd was an American League guy. I mean, Boyd spent most of his career in the American League. Tigers. I think he spent some time with the Guardians. He's been around in the AL, so they definitely should have some exposure to him. Ronnie Vegas says 16-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. I think it's gusts, but still, if you get anything like, and again, the wind can change in Chicago. I'll have my eye on this up until game time. If you get any sort of wind blowing out at Wrigley today, I think that it's worth a shot at the current price for sure.
Okay, I'll take back what I said about Seattle's team total under then. Let me retract that remark.
It's just, yeah, I mean, it's, again, I think it's heavily contingent on the forecast. Wrigley Field can play two totally different ways. And that's the other thing. If the wind was blowing in for any reason, then I want no part of any sort of over there. But yeah, the other thing, Jerry Davis says the Mariners have hit left-handed pitching. They've hit on the road. And Jimmy Burke and someone else made this point. Money almost Friday day game at Wrigley. The Cubs are always going to get bet. You could set your watch to that. The Cubs, just about every Friday Wrigley day game, when the Cubs are good, the Cubs take money. So if you are thinking about the Mariners, they got a lot of fans, and they're a popular team. So think about it. There's a lot of people that don't bet Major League Baseball all week, or they maybe bet it sparingly, and they want to bet the standalone Friday afternoon game. It's probably a big handle game. I would imagine it's one of the biggest handle games of the whole week in Major League Baseball, because it's a standalone game on a Friday. Go ahead, TV. We have
quick
time.
Story, if I may. I was born in eastern Iowa, Davenport to be exact, if anyone knows that, right on the Mississippi River, Quad Cities. And my dad was a huge Cubs fan, and we would drive to Chicago. It's about a 3-hour drive. And Cubs fans are insanely loyal. So yeah, it was great going to Cubs games back then when I was a little whippersnapper. Good stuff. Anyways, Cubs fans are the best. They are really good fans.
And Colin Gregory says, let the money keep rolling in. I'll wait to place my bet. Yeah, I mean, that's, if you know a side's going to take money, wait and get yourself that better number for sure. All right, exactly. Let's go back to the chat here. Grab another game here. Let's Tigers. See. Oh, Big Ed says, TB, Big Ed says, see, you got the Breakfast of Champions right there. Remember, Ed, he's in Tokyo, so it is a nightcap before he goes to bed. And that's what Friday we appreciate night. You do. Tokyo Brandon does this show at like 11 o'clock at night, 5 days a week. So very much appreciate him doing that. And you've earned it's a well-earned fireball for you this week. I know you've had a good week, and hopefully you keep it going here. All right, people are making
fun of Davenport, Iowa, and I think the 15 people who live there are going to get mad at you guys.
I believe, is that where I can't remember, is that the city that the Iowa Cubs are in? I think they might be now. Is Iowa Cubs in Davenport? I can't remember.
Not sure actually, because I haven't been there for 52 years. So someone in the chat will help us though.
All right, I'm gonna grab one. We have the chat is bumping. All right, let's do so. This is two different games. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is the same game.
White Sox,
Kevin
Blue Jays.
Piquette, White Sox Blue Jays. What's your take on this? Yeah, this was a matchup, Tokyo Brandon, that I feel like I don't have a great read on today. And that's surprising to me because I feel like I typically have a good read on both of these teams. However, Davis Martin goes for the White Sox. He's not. If I had to pick sort of the one not unknown, but the one guy I really don't feel like I have a great beat on in the White Sox rotation, it's probably Davis Martin. That being said, I've always leaned to him being more of a AAA guy, like a 4A type player. On the other side, you've got Spencer Turnbull, who is a pretty recognizable name. He just hasn't really been in the bigs in a while. He's now back with the Blue Jays. Believe he missed most of the beginning of his season to injury. Quick couple outings in the minors, and now he is back. What I guess you would say is in the Blue Jays rotation, because I think this is going to be a normal start for him here. So interesting game. Jays White Sox. Start us off here. How are you seeing this one?
I think Blue Jays is the only way to go here. I've liked Spencer Turnbull ever since, when he was with the Phillies. Good solid guy. I thought he was a lot older. I just checked his page. He's only 32. He looks like he's 42, but not a bad pitcher. Davis Martin is the bright spot of, well, the White Sox surprisingly have some decent arms in their rotation. But the thing is, they all have good ERAs and they're all 2-7. So Davis Martin's not a bad pitcher though. But Blue Jays, home record 24-14. That's pretty hard to argue with. White Sox 7-31 on the road. That's pretty hard to argue with as well. I like Spencer Turnbull. I think let's see how he did in his last start. He's only gone 2 innings in each of his 2 last starts. He went against his old Phillies.
Let me jump in for you.
Sure.
This is probably like a Spencer Turnbull for 2 or 3, and then they're going to pair someone with him. You can keep going. I'm going to try to figure out who they're going to piggyback on him, because I don't think it's going to be Eric Lauer, because he just pitched. So I'll be doing that while you. Yeah, keep going.
Probably going to be another 2-inning opener kind of thing. Yeah. Well, I like Turnbull. I'm pretty sure he can hold these guys down for 2 innings, but then what happens after that? Both of these bullpens are wretched right now. So I got the White Sox batting fairly low. Davis Martin, decent pitcher. Toronto is clubbing the ball pretty well right now. Just because of the White Sox horrible bullpen, I might be inclined to, and the home and away records. I mean, you can't argue with that. Toronto would be the only way to go here. -210 is pretty tough to swallow, especially when you got an opener and you don't know who's going to be pitching after that. And the other team has a pretty decent starter going, even though they have a horrible bullpen and horrible hitting. Toronto would be the only way I would go. If I were to play it, it would be a -1, probably knock it down to like -170 and just make a really small play on it. That's probably the only way I would be inclined to bet this one.
Yeah, I'm interested in it to see what so a couple options here. Because I don't think Turnbull's going to go more than 3 innings in this game. I mean, I could theoretically, they're probably going to let him go longer than he went his last outing, but I'd be surprised if we see him for more than 3 or 4 innings. Normally, I wouldn't mind that, except the Jays have burned a lot of the guys that they've been so they've been using this to fill a rotation spot for a while, where they'll take Eric Lauer and Paxton Schultz and pair them together, or they were doing it with Yariel Rodriguez for a minute, and then Turnbull, I believe in his first outing, I think they went Turnbull Lauer, something like that. The problem is they just used Lauer, just kind of had a normal start, so he's out. He just went 5 innings the other day, and Paxton Schultz pitched, I believe, yesterday. So that's, I guess, my concern. Yariel Rodriguez went 2 innings on the 18th. which is 2 days ago. So theoretically, you probably could go Turnbull and follow him with Yariel Rodriguez, but I'm going to have my eye on if they call someone up. Now, remember, I wouldn't be that surprised to see them they can liberally use the bullpen here because Max Scherzer is probably going to make his next start for the Blue Jays. He was fantastic against Worcester the other night. He's now had 2 rehab starts. Yeah, but he looked like he looked like mid-season form. Max Scherzer, 8 strikeouts in that game with Worcester. I don't think there's any reason to keep him at AAA any longer. He's made 2 starts. Both of them were very good. So you got to think that was Wednesday, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got to think Monday or Tuesday, based on when the Jays have off days, will be Max Scherzer on the mound. So they're not going to need to fill this spot again. I think you might see Turnbull maybe followed by Yariel Rodriguez here, which is pretty strong. Rodriguez has been much better if he doesn't have to go more than 2 or 3 innings. And I'm with you, TV. I'm not really a Davis Martin guy, in the White Sox on the road. Not where I really want to grab them. And the other thing is they just played a very intense doubleheader with the Cardinals yesterday. And now they have to turn around and play a Jays team that I feel like is playing great ball. So
travel to Canada too. I mean, it sounds like, I mean, I know these guys travel every day of their life, so I'm not big on the using travel in the cap, but traveling across the border is a more of a pain in the butt than you would think. So yeah, I think just pain in the butt factor will factor into the cap as well. If they're that bad on the road, they're going to be worse on the road in another country.
Yeah, and I would say even the more sort of glaring thing is having to go play a road game and travel after a doubleheader yesterday. That's not easy either. So seems like a tough,
horrible,
right?
Horrible situation. Yeah.
And this is a White Sox bullpen that is absolutely improved. They've called some guys up that have made this bullpen much better, but they had a fair amount of usage yesterday. And this feels like a really tough spot for the White Sox. I don't mind a Blue Jays money line in some capacity. I don't know what you pair that with, but you could certainly use it. Or -1, -1.5 is not the worst play here. Jays -1.5 at home, that does suck. I don't really care to do that at home.
But the Jays are good at home.
This might be the spot for your -1, depending on what price some of these books are going to give to you. I think if that -1 TB was -140. I think that's reasonable.
If it's -140, it's probably more like -170, honestly.
Interesting. Okay.
Let me see.
Yeah, that's why I was
-149. That's not bad at all.
It's fair. That is a very fair price for that. I will be very surprised if the Jays lose this game, especially after kind of getting blown out yesterday. I'd
do that.
I don't dislike. I'd co-sign that all day. Jays had a tough loss yesterday. They didn't use their best bullpen arms. They're going to be able to sort of go 2-3 innings with some of these guys. As long as Turnbull gives them 2-3 okay innings, I think it sets them up to win this game. I do like the Blue Jays in that one. All right. Let's
matter of fact, maybe I'll make that my parlay. Actually, I'll take Blue Jays on the money line as my parlay leg.
Why not? I was going to say for the parlay, why not?
Ryan's out. You guys, when I was out a couple days ago, you guys won your 2-legger. So
that's correct.
We got to do a 2-legger. We got to win this with Bryan out.
Yep. So I'm going to try to
45 years old.
I'm just going to scan the legals here and I'll grab a price for, I'm assuming Blue Jays is probably -200 most places, like something like that. I just saw that.
Danny Espinosa, this is a great. I got to put this comment. Pain in the butt
go ahead.
factor. Always key on Friday nights. That's good.
I'm actually seeing. It looks like the White Sox actually took some money. I'm seeing -185 at MGM, -190. Let's see what DraftKings has.
The reason is because the uncertainty at pitcher, because how many innings is Turnbull going to get you? Turnbull's a solid pitcher, but how many innings is he going to give? He's only pitched 2 innings in both of his appearances this season. Got to be rusty. So yeah.
I will conservatively call that minus 190 on the Blue Jays. You can actually get minus 185, and I wouldn't be surprised if it even got a little bit better as the day went on, because Kevin Paquette says minus 190. Yeah, for the parlay, no brainer in my opinion. That's a great parlay leg, and again, like if you can get that minus one, some books are going to have that in the minus 140, minus 145 range. I don't hate that either. I feel like this is a strong setup for a Blue Jays win. And then you just got to hope they do it by more than a run. But yeah, this sets up nicely for a Blue Jays win. Roke Energy says minus 185 on Bet Online. Yep, I just saw a minus 185 on MGM. David Cerna, Blue Jays is a square bet. Listen, MLB is not football. I've said this kind of a few times. I think it's a good talking point. The quote unquote like contrarian stuff doesn't hit nearly as much in Major League Baseball. The betting markets are such that it's like these books are not taking huge action relative to what they would take on like an NFL Sunday or a college football game on these games. So it's like I don't look much into that. There's very square minus 190 plays that hit all the time in Major League Baseball. It's just not like, and again, we're not giving this out as a straight bet. We're talking about pairing this with something. If you're going to parlay this with something and make it plus money, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Hurt. Yeah. Fade the public doesn't play as well. Go ahead.
People who use terms like square and sharp and stuff like that, I just shows me that, who cares what other people bet? If your bet wins, it doesn't matter how many people bet it. Just bet what you think is going to win. Don't worry about using words like square and sharp to sound like a professional or something, because it doesn't mean anything. The only thing it means is if the line moves. That's the only thing that matters.
Here's the other thing, though.
Square, sharp stuff. It doesn't matter.
Here's the other thing, though. I don't think people truly know what like the
baseball
definition of that is. There's a lot of sharp. There was a like every sharp MLB bettor that I talked to had Dodgers parlayed to Yankees the other day in like the plus 135 range. We talked about it on the show. Now that bet lost, but the Yankees were minus 205, went off minus 285. That parlay, if you bet it closer to game time, was like plus 110. And a lot, and so these like big money lines are not like something that they will, like, sharp MLB bettors will avoid. And G Hurt makes a good point. Like, the books only have a few hours to adjust. It's not like football where they're up all week. And the other thing is sometimes the books are just not that concerned with taking some money on a minus 190 Jays money line, because the volume's just not nearly as big. And again, it's just not the same, in my opinion. Like, yeah. And just to make, David makes a good point. Like, you should not be just consistently laying $2 in Major League Baseball games, but everything's a case-by-case basis, in my opinion. Go ahead, TB.
Yeah, I mean, I find people who use the term squares and stuff like that, they generally don't know what they're talking about, because, I mean, it doesn't matter what other people bet. The only thing that matters is how the line moves. And I always treat my bets like girlfriends. Once I bet it, it's an ex-girlfriend, and I don't check on it anymore. So, I mean, if I bet something at minus 140 and it moves to minus 120, I could give a rip. I don't care. If I win my bet, the juice is free anyway, so who cares? Generally speaking, sharp means the people who actually move lines, right?
Right. That's what Steve said. Look at his comment. That's exactly
right. And certain books will take that quote unquote sharp money. I hate using those terms because generally people who don't know anything about sports betting use those terms to sound like they're educated. But the syndicates and the big bettors who bet like six figures, some casinos will take their money to learn where the money's going to come, so they hedge their risk and move their lines. That's technically what square means.
Yeah, and I just think this is a good talking point. We've got a little extra time today. I'll disagree with this a little bit. Square is Yankees minus 200, Dodgers last night minus 200. Here's an example.
So you don't know what square means. Don't use the term.
2 days ago.
I'm not
no, this
talking to
is a
you,
really-
Adam.
No, 2 days ago, that Yankees Dodgers parlay was probably a publicly bet play, right? Yankees to Dodgers money line parlay. Sharp people had that at plus 135. I would say square would be to bet the same parlay at plus 110. That's the difference. Like if you're getting in late and you're losing 25, 30 cents of value, that would be a square bet. To get that at plus 135 when then the market price is plus 110, that's a sharp bet. And the thing is, here's another good example. I can tell you that move toward the Mets this morning was sharp. That was sharp money that came in and moved the market like 30 cents. Now, it does not mean that someone's not going to come in and bet the Phillies at some point today. That's also sharp. They might just be getting it at the price that they want to get it at. So I would not read too much. Like, I really think you want to make your projections, handicap the games. I wouldn't read too much into the money moves in Major League Baseball. But I think I really think it's a good discussion. I do. And that's why
sometimes I think people just think too much. If you think the Jays -1 at 146 is a good bet it. Don't say
all right. We got to move on. Jack's right. Jack's right. If Bryan was here, he would have made us move on from this a long time ago. And so that's what we're going to do. Titan CT wants to talk about Dodgers. That's what we're going to do right now. Heading out west, the Nationals yesterday, Tokyo Brandon, in grand fashion, James Wood, walk-off homer to end the losing streak. And what do the Nats get? They get a trip out west to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Interesting matchup, though. Their aces on the mound, Mackenzie Gore, against a lefty that he probably emulated growing up in Clayton Kershaw. What do you got here? Nats, Dodgers. Interesting series, in my opinion.
It's interesting, and this is an interesting game, but it's not a game I think I can make money on. I have Mackenzie Gore ranked number 6 starting pitcher in all of Major League Baseball. If you go to my Twitter X account, about 30 minutes before the show, I put up my top 20 starting pitchers. Mackenzie Gore is ranked 6th. The problem is he's backed by an atrociously bad bullpen, and the hitting is subpar right now for the Nats. Dodgers always have solid hitting because even on a day like, was it yesterday where Ohtani doesn't really produce much, or maybe it was the day before, they still find, someone like Kike Hernandez or Teoscar Hernandez to catch on, and Edmonds catching on too. So Dodgers lineup is always dangerous. Dodgers bullpen fairly average right now. I got them ranked 15, but I got the Nats bullpen ranked 28 out of 30. Clayton Kershaw is a guy who I thought was washed after his first couple starts this season, but actually he's come on quite strong. I have him ranked, my numbers like him, not quite as much as they like Gore. Gore is pitching much better than when he was at San Diego. And I don't know why. Maybe you know why, Adam. I don't know why, but in any case, this is a game I'm probably going to stay away from because Washington has a really big advantage in starting pitching, but their bullpen and their batting very, very subpar. Dodgers, on the other hand, great batting, good bullpen, and the lesser of the starting pitchers. So I'm going to stay off it.
You're going to lose your mind when I give you the reason why I think that Mackenzie Gore has really made strides. And I know this to be a fact.
Because he's square.
Nope. Mackenzie Gore was mentored by Patrick Corbin. He moved in. No, I'm serious. Let me finish. He moved in with Corbin.
Over under -140 on a Patrick Corbin reference on this show.
Listen, he moved in with Corbin last offseason because he wanted to learn Corbin's changeup or one of his pitches where he wanted to be able to throw that pitch. Now, yes, you're right. Mackenzie Gore comes over from the Padres. He's very sort of green. He's a very high draft pick, but he still had a lot to learn. Got to the Nats, struggled a little bit, and he went and spent an entire offseason with Corbin, sort of retooled a couple of his pitches. I would say he had like some mixed success last year, but it really has seemed to click for him last year into this year, meaning this past offseason into this season, it is very much clicked for Mackenzie Gore. If you pull up his Baseball Savant page, it's all red. Fastballs in the 90th percentile, pitching run value, 90th percentile. This is the stuff Brian Leonard references often. He is trending toward being one of the elite left-handed starters in Major League Baseball. And it's a very interesting sort of dichotomy here because Clayton Kershaw has been one of the elite left-handed starters for most of his career, but he's just not that anymore. I think we can all agree that Clayton Kershaw is on a given day can be good, but he's just not elite anymore. And I think he's still, because he's on the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are still an elite team, I think Kershaw often gets priced as elite, which I do think is incorrect. So in this case, I don't know if I have it in me to back the Nationals here, but that's the only way I could go. And it's something I certainly have considered. Remember, this is a team that just lost for about 2 weeks straight. They get a walk-off win yesterday. That's a huge confidence builder. You can get the Nationals plus 1.5, like minus 120. I think that's a solid bet here because Mackenzie Gore is a guy that I do trust to be able to navigate this Dodgers lineup. I think he's got a good chance to pitch well. And the Nats, really, the only thing that's a little bit, I wish they were up against a good right-handed pitcher here because they profile better against right-handed pitching. That being said, they called up Brady House. They now have Alex Call. The lineup's a little bit more balanced than it was a couple weeks ago. So Nats plus 1.5 is something I'm going to consider. Maybe it'll even be my parlay leg. I don't think this is the best spot to bet the Dodgers. You're just laying too much of a premium against a really good pitcher in Mackenzie Gore, in my opinion. All right. Someone said I talk too much. Hey, it's my show. That's what you guys show up for, to hear me talk for an hour. So I don't know what else. Although we did probably spend too much time on the one topic, but you know what? I don't know. I got into it. I thought it was a good conversation. Let's get another game here. Sean's here. I didn't even see Sean today. I didn't know if Sean was going to show up after the Tigers lost the second leg of that doubleheader yesterday, 8-4 in extra innings. But he said he says that's what happens when you don't fade the Tigers every day. Not sure what that's in reference to, but the Tigers play baseball tonight, and Tokyo Brandon stopped the presses. I think I kind of like the Tigers here. I know they just kind of played a doubleheader yesterday, but that first game was a blowout. Didn't really use any of the good bullpen arms. The second game, they kind of played from behind most of the way. So I feel like they kind of survived the doubleheader. Now they go on the road to the Rays. They're up against Shane Baz, who I think might be a tad overvalued at this point. Where are you at on this one? Tigers Rays, pretty good game in the AL tonight.
Flaherty's another one of those guys who kind of burns me every time I fade him, burns me every time I take him. I think I took him his last game when he gave up 7 runs, and I faded him in the game before that where he gave up 0. So if you take out the 7-run blunder by him against the Reds in his last start, he's given up 0, 1, 0, 3, 2. I mean, pretty good numbers. And I've always thought he's more of an innings eater rather than a special pitcher. Baz, pretty good. But his last start against the Mets was great, but before that he gave up 3, 3, 3. So you can kind of count on him to give up 3 runs basically in most of his starts. Tigers, yeah, it's kind of, I mean, they still are the best team in MLB right now. So Baz doesn't have a history against them. Yeah, I have Tampa ranked higher than the Tigers in batting and bullpen, but I have Flaherty just a little bit above Baz here. If anything, I'd take Tampa here, but I'm not going to. So what do you think?
I mean, I think where the Tigers are priced right here, you can get them around even money. I think there's more to like about the Tigers. So the chat makes a point that's worth pointing out. Yes, they played a doubleheader yesterday. Yes, they had to travel, but it wasn't the doubleheader didn't play out in the worst way imaginable for the Tigers. They won the first game 9-2. It was pretty much a cruise control type game where you had Skubal go like 6 innings, and then it was like guys in mop-up duty the rest of the way. And then game 2, yes, Kiter Montero I think I feel like I'll give Sean his credit. He kind of said he's been throwing the ball much better of late, like the last couple times he's come up on the show. Kyler Montero has really been so much better than I expected him to be. Comes out yesterday. Obviously, he was behind. Tyler Holton got blown up early, gave up the 3 runs. Montero comes in, 80 pitches, goes 5 innings, 1 run on 3 hits, really kind of saves the bullpen. Saves the bullpen. You had Canely threw an inning, but he hadn't thrown in a couple days. Vest threw an inning, he hadn't thrown in a couple days. So for the most part, like, you should have the majority of the bullpen arms here. And Flaherty's the one guy in that rotation that will kind of give length, right? Like, the vast majority of Jack Flaherty starts are 6 innings. You know, last time out, he only went 4 2/3 against the Reds. But if you go back before that, it was like 6 innings of 1-run ball for close to a month. So I've always, like I said, I think I've been guilty at times of putting Baz higher than he should be. I'm starting to cool off on him. I think the Tigers have the better starter. I think the Tigers have the better bullpen. And the Tigers are now going to play in a park that's very hitter friendly. And if you can sort of get some, if the Tigers get some offense going, they're a very tough team to beat. I think at even money here, I like the Tigers. Not sure it'll be a client play, but I'm definitely leaning their way. And Jake says he really likes Flaherty over strikeouts today too. That was a tough. I feel like that was a tough matchup for him last time against the Reds. I think this is a better matchup, and I would not be surprised if Flaherty pitches well. So Jake, I kind of agree with you. I think he may get the strikeouts there. And look at Sean. Sean is fired up because I rarely like the Tigers, and I'm kind of leaning their way.
But you can't bet as a fan, though. I mean, the only team you talk about is the Tigers. I mean, you're not going to make money that way.
I actually don't think Sean is a Tigers fan. Maybe he is. I think he's just trolling us.
Look at his avatar.
Oh, is it? Maybe he is. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I hear you. You definitely got to take fandom out of it. But hey, I'll tell Sean, like, this is one spot where I think you, he took
the kind of person who's the kind of person who says Montero's awesome, he's awesome, and when he gets traded to the Mets, he sucks. You know, it's like, dude, come on.
No, that's a pretty like, a lot of people have just, like, I've been coming on here saying Montero's trash, and every time he goes out, he seems to fire up 5 decent innings all of a sudden. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think that was I think that was like a pretty sharp call that he was going to pitch well, because he's pitched well the last month or so.
But if he played for the Mets, anyway.
Let's move on. Let's try to get one more in here before we lock in our parlay. We have someone in the chat saying Braves are hot right now. Braves money line. Yeah, this is an interesting game because we have a kid coming up to make his major league debut that just turned 20 years old the other day. And this is something the Braves have done in the past. So Didier Fuentes just turned 20, I think 3 days ago. The Braves every once in a while like to do this. They did this with AJ Smith-Shawver, and now they're going to do this with Fuentes, where they are just going to rush a kid to the majors. And I'm not really quite sure why the rush for him. They've got some other decent pitchers in the minors, but they are hell-bent on getting this kid to the major leagues as a 20-year-old. They are hot, but are they hot, or have the Mets just been that cold, right? They get the sweep. Now the Braves have to go on the road. I don't know. I feel like they might be a little bit overvalued here with a kid making their major league debut. How are you seeing this one, TV?
Yeah, I don't know much about either one of these starters, and not a lot to go off, at least at the major league level. So take the starting pitching out. I don't know how you would cap it if you take the starting pitching out, but the Braves are hitting a lot better, and the Braves have a much better bullpen at the moment. Right now in current form, I got the Braves hitting 9. I got the Mets hitting 16. Bullpens, I got the Braves 8, and I got the Mets 26. So this is current form. It doesn't mean that's what they are. And if you don't understand that concept, you should stop betting sports. This is current form, though. And the Braves, much better in current form, but you're right. They're on the road here. But yeah, they're 12-24 on the road, considering, well, they're an under 500 team, though. So this is one of those things you got to cover the logo. But you know, they're catching a little bit of fire here. So yeah. Braves got to be the Braves, I would think. But again, don't really know much about the starting pitchers. So,
Yeah, I mean, so I'll talk about both starters real quick. Jansen Junk is a guy that came over from the Brewers organization, an organization that typically does well with pitching, and he just could not figure it out at the AAA level or at the big league level for the Brewers. He really struggled with Nashville at times last year, and I think the Brewers kind of gave up on him. Now, the Marlins, we've kind of talked about, really overhauled player development, and they've sort of unlocked his potential at this point. He's thrown the ball tremendous at AAA. He's thrown the ball great since he's gotten called up. So Jansen Junk, they've figured out something with him. Now, the kid that's coming up today for the Braves, I mean, they really like the upside for him, but he just turned 20. And if you look at his minor league sort of career, I mean, last year he was struggling in A-ball, right? So this is a guy that was struggling in A-ball last year. He started the year at high A, pitched very well, quickly promoted to double A, where he didn't pitch quite as well, right? So double A, he went from high A where he pitched well. I think he made, he made like a handful of starts. Ended up at double A where he's been for most of the season so far. His numbers at double A, 4.98 ERA, a 250 batting average against a 1.29 whip. That's good, but that's not like let's get this kid to AAA yesterday good, right? Like it's decent. It's definitely something you want to see. He comes up to AAA for one start. He made one start at AAA. Now, granted, it was a quality outing. Went 4 2/3 of 1-run ball, and they decided that's like, okay, we've seen enough. Time to put you into big leagues at 20 years old. I don't know that, like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't know. They have a couple guys down there. Nathan Wiles has thrown the ball great. That seem like more MLB ready guys than a 20-year-old that's been shaky in the minors. So I'm going to actually use this. This is what I'm thinking of playing today. This is going to be my parlay leg. I am going to take Marlins plus 1.5 here. I haven't locked this in for clients yet because I want to dig a little bit more into the Marlins and, maybe look at Jansen Junk's numbers a little bit more. But just off of that, I think there's value in playing against this 20-year-old making his major league debut on the road, having had one start at AAA and not having had like a ton of sustained success at AA, really not having had any success in the minors prior to this season. And now you've got him making his big league debut. Yes, he's got some strikeout stuff. We all know that it's a different ball game at the big league level. So I'm gonna say Marlins plus 1.5, minus I think 130 will be my parlay leg for today. I won't be surprised if the Marlins win. I do think that there's some value on Marlins money line plus money plus 126 plus 130. I don't know if this stat is accurate, but rookie pitchers are 1-22 this year. By the way, Sean, if that's an accurate, like, I'm not saying it's not. And actually, now that you kind of point that out, rookie debut starts, like, I can't think of a good one off the top of my head. Now that he says that, I can't think of a good one off the top of my head of a rookie that just came out, went through a quality start, 6-7 innings and got a win. So that actually makes a lot of sense now that he points that out. Yeah, that's what I'm going to use for my parlay leg. Marlins plus 1.5. It's 10 o'clock, but let's get one more in here because
let me make one quick comment. I meant Marlins, not Mets in my last wrap up. Sorry, too much fireball.
So I'm gonna run the parlay here, and in the meantime, let's quick comment. D-backs Rockies. I almost threw D-backs in the parlay. I felt like that number was low. The Rockies come back after their road trip to the East Coast. Do they just get smashed tonight, Tokyo Brandon? I could kind of see the D-backs putting a crooked number on them.
Yeah, I mean, they're just a much better team, but the Rockies are hitting quite well. But let's not forget that this is the same Rockies team that until they started winning this week were historically bad, probably the worst road team that we've ever seen. They're still not a good road team, but hang on a second. Today they're at home. So people will say, oh, they're a good home team. Well, they're 7-27 at home. So that's not exactly good. Diamondbacks are 17-19 on the road. Not exactly good either. Austin Gomber, Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen's one of those guys I've always felt he's extremely overrated. But anyone can look good against this team. The Rockies do tend to play really well in the first game of their series, though. So that kind of scares me off of just auto fading them here. Let me take a look at how Gomber has done against the Diamondbacks in his career. He gives up a 250 average against in 116 at bats and an 824 OPS. Gallen pitches a little bit better against the Rockies, but neither one really great. We got two very struggling bullpens, two lineups that can hit. I know it sounds weird to say the Colorado Rockies can hit, but they actually can right now. I would be very inclined to take an over in this one. Seems like an over would be a good bet in this one because both bullpens are horrible. Let's see. It looks like it's 11.5 right now. Yeah, this looks like one of those 7-6 games to me. That would be the way I would go in this one.
All right, we are at the hour mark. I am going to recap the parlay. I was really just trying to fill time while I calculated the parlay. I think the Diamondbacks. Okay. I think the Diamondbacks smash there. I think you're going to get a couple crooked numbers from Arizona's offense. I actually thought like minus 170 was a little bit low. I thought that was a tad low. I would have thought that would have been up closer to like minus 200, minus 210. So there's actually, in my opinion, some value on the D-backs, especially with the Rockies having played, on the East Coast, coming back home. I think that's a tough spot for them. Listen, I just wanted to point out before I recap the parlay, Jansen Junk at AAA this year. And remember, this is his first year in the Marlins organization, so they really tweaked some things with him in the offseason. Jansen Junk at AAA, 2.78 ERA, a 0.99 WHIP, batting average against 225. Since he's been called up to the big leagues, his numbers have been very similar. 2.78 ERA, WHIP 1.01. He's actually been fantastic all season, almost super consistent. Numbers are almost the same AAA in the big leagues. And again, like Fuentes could come out and be filthy tonight. He definitely has some stuff, but there's so much unknown there. He's made one start at AAA. And he's been okay at AA, and now you're going to throw him into the big leagues. That, to me, is like, that's craziness, in my opinion. So, Marlins, plus 1.5, minus 130 is my parlay leg. Tokyo Brandon, Blue Jays, minus 190. It's only two of us today. We hit a two-teamer to start the week. That's how we're going to end the week. That parlay goes for plus 170. So, nice and easy. Blue Jays money line, Marlins plus 1.5. Hopefully we cash that parlay and close the week strong. I see, like, again, I didn't have, so just to comment on, like, there's definitely some rookies that have been solid. I didn't have that stat in front of me. Sean might need to clarify, like, does he mean guys like making their big league debut? I'm not sure. I think he's also talking about maybe like actually getting credited with the win. It's really irrelevant to me. I'm more going off of what I haven't seen at the minors, because the kid he started the year in high A and he's barely spent any time at AA or AAA, and he's going to make his big league debut tonight. So that's really what I'm kind of looking at right there.
Let me say something before we leave. I got a 5% payout, and WagerTalk's having me do a 1-hour show tomorrow on everything baseball. So I'll be back tomorrow. It's not called Total Bases. I'm just going to come up and talk. So we'll see how it goes. But I have a 5% play out today, so go grab that if you can.
Nothing up for me today yet. I'm sure I'll lock something in at some point. I'm going to take the break, take the weekend off from talking. So I'll be back on Monday. I feel like I will say, like, this show runs so much better with 3 guys. It's so much easier to sort of move through the games.
You're a little
But
funky
listen,
today.
Bryan wasn't feeling good today. I think we'd rather give you a show with 2 of us than no show at all. So we decided to show up, do a 2-man today, and hopefully you got something out of it. TB, what time is your show tomorrow? The viewers want to know.
It's noon Eastern. It's going to be right after what was the weekend show that's called Final Call or whatever. I forgot.
Oh, yeah. So I believe, yes. So I believe we have Last Call
Last
on
Call.
WagerTalk TV at 11 a.m.
Total
and then
call.
you're going to go. So you're going to go right after them at noon. Is that what
yeah, just going to come on and
Perfect.
talk some KBO, some Japanese. You know, they said there's an hour between Last Call and Gianni's got a steam room show. So I said I can talk for an hour. So join me. It'll be on my X. It'll be on WagerTalk's YouTube, just like Total Bases. So we'll see.
Excellent.
All right. If nobody, if I don't get any asses in the seats, they'll cancel me. So be it.
I think people will show up to hear you talk, TB. You're the star of this show. That's what I've gathered from the.
I don't know about that.
So
I don't know about that. I think we all play well together. Bryan is the grumpy guy who says, "Let's keep it moving." You're the talkative guy, and I'm just the guy who has no idea what's going on. It's a good combination.
All right. Well, listen. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Again, one more time, you've got Blue Jays money line to Marlins plus 1.5. That parlay comes out to be plus 170. Let's cash it. We'll be back Monday morning. More Total Bases, 9 a.m. Have a great weekend. Cash all your tickets. We'll see you guys on Monday.